You know, as many of you know, I come from, I don't know if all of you know, but my first passion in business, I started a company when I was 19 years old. I didn't go to college. I was a promoter of speakers, trainers, sales training and leadership. I did big seminars all over the country. I promoted speakers. So my passion has always been personal development, training. All the speakers I viewed in my 20s and 30s, I promoted hundreds of them. I use so much information from those seminars in my business today. You know, most of the stuff I do in my business is as a result of speakers, trainers, and I'm very excited about our speaker here today. And is he in the room yet? Is he out there? Ray was setting him up there. Is he coming in? Raymond, is he ready? I don't want to introduce him and then have the guy not here. Yeah, I think he was setting up the mic. Did somebody go check? But we have two speakers. The other speaker we have tomorrow, Gary Cox, is somebody I had promoted. I started when he was a young man. I was his first, he's doing it for free, by the way. I said, hey, Gary, you come in here. I got you started. You got to come do CoCard. Don't let him know he's not getting paid. But, so I'm a big fan of speakers, trainers, information, because one idea out of any one of these programs can change your whole business. And our speaker here today is first and foremost a man of strongly committed to his faith, family, and friends. In business, Michael is a serial entrepreneur, motivational speaker, and peak performance expert. Originally hailing from Atlantic City, New Jersey, he is passionate and committed to leaving the world better than he found it by positively impacting as many individual lives and businesses as he can. And he hopes he can do that here to any one of you here in the room. Michael currently resides in Boca Raton, Florida, with his amazing wife, Emmy, and he gladly admits that he's married way over his head. He also has a fantastic son, Kyle, and two great stepsons. He counts his blessings every day. Oh, and get this. Michael was one of only 22 men selected from 10,000 to be on the hit TV show American Gladiators, Senior Edition. No, I threw that in. But I noticed he didn't say how well he did either, okay? Well, maybe he'll share that with us. Now, help me give a warm CoCard welcome to the stage, Michael Altshuler. Sorry about this.
How'd you do?
How'd you do? It was the senior edition, right? So, I'm going to tell you how I did, but before I do, when I spoke to Dan around 2 months ago and I learned that I was going to be speaking to you today, I was incredibly excited for a few reasons. One is we're cut from the same cloth. I've been an entrepreneur, a sole business owner my whole life, and I truly understand what that's like. Living the dream, or certainly making that effort to live the dream. So I totally get that and I respect that. The second thing is we grind every day, we sell every day, and I get that. And the third thing we have in common was in our businesses we have no competition, margins are great, robust, and there's never any pricing issues. Wait, is that the wrong audience? I'm sorry. No, I get that. I understand. And I came from an industry that I was in 30 years in Atlantic City, New Jersey. I was in the copier business. And customers try to commoditize our products. So when they commoditize our products, price goes down, you can't sell value or relationships, and that's the name of the game. And how do you really differentiate yourself? So what I learned along the way, as being in business for over 25 years with my copier business, was how to really differentiate myself, how to really crush the competition and make a lot of money while doing so. And hopefully I'll give you some ideas today on how to do that. But before I do, I have to tell you that I built my business when I was very young to a multi-million-dollar business, and I sold it to a multi-billion-dollar a year company, to Icon Office Solutions. And in Florida, I don't know if you know this or not, when you sell your business in the middle of winter in New Jersey or New York, it's law that you have to move to Florida. It's the law. Now, if you've ever been here, how many people live here? So, can you attest to that? Now, I live on the East Coast. Literally, everyone is from New Jersey, New York. So, and who am I to break the law? So, I moved to Florida, and I was telling my friends and colleagues. They said, "Where are you moving?" And I said, "I'm moving to a city called Boynton Beach." Now, how many of you have ever heard of Boynton Beach? Okay, a lot of people. My friends looked at me with big eyes and said, "Boynton Beach? Do you know how old the people are in Boynton Beach?" And I kind of like shrugged it off. I said, "Forget it, they're not that old." And I moved to Boynton Beach. They were that old. In fact, the average age was deceased. I'm telling you, these people were old. Then I didn't fit in. Today, probably a little more, 20-some years later. So I moved to Boynton Beach and I became a keynote speaker, peak performance coach, and business consultant, basically helping companies grow sales and profits and margins, in case anyone's interested in that. So that's as much selling as I do from the floor. So anyway, so I moved here, and one of the things that's kind of interesting is when you are in a situation where you're presenting to a client, a prospect, it's so important to relate and connect to them, right? Would everyone agree? You want to relate, you want to connect, you want to have that great conversation. So I found a very unique, novel way to do that. What I've done, I do a little magic, and I was telling Dan that I was going to do a little magic on the cruise tonight. And he was all excited about that, and I said, I hope you don't mind, I'm going to wear a Speedo. And without missing a beat, he says, "Great, I'll wear a thong." Don't worry. All he had to do was say that I'm not wearing a Speedo now.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome, sir. So anyway, I figured I'd do a magic trick, and this is going to predict how well we're going to relate and connect for the next hour and a half or how much time we have. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this totally randomly. I have a Nerf ball. We're going to play some music. I'm going to ask everyone to stand up. I want this to be a totally random selection as to who my victim, my volunteer is. And we're going to throw the ball out into the audience, keep it in the air, kind of like musical chairs. And when the music stops, whoever's holding the ball, guess what? You're in. Okay, so everyone please rise to your feet, play the music, play it loud. Okay? I want you to catch it, throw it. 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 All right. I'm the leader. Go, I said, oh, man. Stop. Oh, look, no, I catch it.
Sam, it's you, it's Sam.
That's great. Give a round of applause. Everyone can sit down except our victim. By the way, thank you for feeling the peer pressure of everyone saying, pick it up, pick it up. So what we're going to do, the whole pressure of us really communicating with the whole group is on your shoulders. If this works, you're a hero. If not, you're going to get the ball. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Totally random. By the way, my name is Michael Altshuler. Your name?
Josh Krantz.
Josh? Krantz, right? Okay. So Josh, it's nice to meet you, by the way. Josh, have we ever met before?
No.
Josh, 2 seconds ago I said, Michael Altshuler, nice to meet you. Oh, before. You're talking before the before. Okay. We've never met. Okay, perfect. Wanted to get that straight. So we're going to play this, and do you have a good imagination? Okay, perfect. You put the Nerf ball down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw you an invisible deck of cards. And before I do this, I just have a few questions I want to ask you. Have you ever played cards before?
Yes.
Okay. Are you any good?
Yeah.
Okay, then we won't play it for money. So, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to throw you invisible deck of cards, catch the cards, and then we'll go on with the exercise. Are you ready? Invisible deck, catch it. Good, thank you for the applause as well. Okay. What we're gonna do, I want you to pull one card out, but before you do, I want you to pull any card out, but before you do, don't pull a king, because every guy is super predictable. Every guy thinks they're a king, and every woman wants a king, so no king. So any card, ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, jack, queen, hearts, diamonds, clubs, and spades, right? Pull one card, that was your cue. Pull one card out. I want you to show everyone in the audience the card that you're pulling out. We're using our imagination. Yeah, okay. So pull one card out, perfect. Show everyone, I'm going to turn around, show everyone the card. Can everyone see the card? Another audience that's made up of a bunch of liars. Okay, I'm going to turn the card around, I don't want to see it. Okay, now what I want you to do, it's Josh, right? Hasn't changed, okay. What I want you to do is I want you to slide the card back in the deck. Wait, take it out, Josh, take it out. I want you to turn it upside down. So it's the only card facing in the opposite direction. Now slide it. That was very creative. Nice. Okay, what I want you to do now is I want you to throw me, you look like you play some sports. I want you to throw me the deck. Throw it, yeah. I got it. Okay. Now this is my big card trick. So for the first time, for those way in the back in the cheap seats that didn't see what card you selected, total random selection, by the way, right? We didn't know who was going to pick the ball up. We had no way, we never met each other before today. You pick one card out, totally random card, a number and a suit, and you turn it upside down and put it in the deck. And if the card is turned upside down in this deck, would that be an amazing trick?
Yes.
Yeah. This is the audience participatory part. If I do that, even I would be amazed. Okay, I would make all of us. Okay, so for the first time for everyone, I want you to announce what was the card that you selected, turn it upside down and put it back in the deck.
4 clubs.
You couldn't have picked the 10 of hearts. Is that what everyone saw?
Yeah.
4 clubs. And you turn it upside down. Okay, I got small hands, and these are big cards. 4 clubs. Here we go. Do you see any cards turned upside down yet? Getting very nervous. That's why we're depends when I do these things. Is that too much information? Yeah, my hands are 4 clubs, and you turned it upside down, right? I'll tell you. Get antsy now. Oh no. Do you see a card upside down?
Yeah. You're going to see it too.
1 card upside down. If this is the 4 clubs, Josh, you're a hero, my friend. No, please stay seated. You're much too kind. Much too kind.
You met him before.
Never met before.
Still can't wear the G-string.
Still can't wear the G-string. Yeah, please no. So we'll magically make that disappear. Okay. So thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. Give Josh a round of applause. That's something you got a bigger round of applause than I did. I did the magic trick, so they must really love you. So let me go. American Gladiators. The number 1 question I get is, how did you do? Someone actually asked how I did. It wasn't a senior American Gladiators, by the way. By a show of hands, before I tell you how I did, can I see by a show of hands, how many of you remember the TV show American Gladiators? Look around. Pretty much everybody. Okay, second question, and I'll tell you how I did. How many of you remember seeing me compete on the show? Look around. Nobody. Well, that's easy. In that case, I won the national championship. I got my butt kicked in front of 6 million people. Now, I'm going to take you way back even before that. Do you remember Wild World of Sports? And their theme song, The Thrill of Victory and? That's over 30 years ago, you still remember. Now, what's crazier than remembering that theme song was we all remember what the person, who said that? Yes! No, but no one remembers what the person was doing in the Thrill of Victory. But the agony of defeat was the what? The ski jump. 200, 300 feet in the air, crash and burn. Right, splat. And there's something sick about human beings that they love to watch. As long as the people get up, we love to watch a good crash. Right? So, I brought a few slides of me crashing and burning in front of 6 million people on national TV. Thank you for your support, sir. So here we go. This is normally better if you turn these on. Here we go. Do you remember his name? Nitro. Now Nitro looks like a very nice guy, right? His name should be Psycho, because check out the look in his eyes now. Yeah, how would you like to be there? But I want to bring your attention to these. I had to go in a ring. It was called Breakthrough and Conquer. You run with the football, have to get through one gladiator, and then do you remember that? And then you go in a round circle, around 4 foot diameter, and you have to take that gladiator out of the circle. And he does everything within his power to prevent you from doing that. You remember it, right? So I got in the ring with him, and let me tell you what it was like. He gets in the athletic position, ready position, and he starts grinding his legs in so they're real steady in the mat. And I see these muscles gyrating back and forth, back and forth. Veins are popping out of his legs. And I'm like, hi. I'm like trying to warm him up a little bit, like, you're really not going to hurt me. And he's banging me, and you're in there, it seems like for hours, and I didn't get him down. And that night I'm laying in a bag of ice thinking, this is living your dream, right? This is what you wanted. Now this is actually the only basket that I made. And this is called Powerball. So the only basket that I made, and we're just going to spend a few minutes reminiscing. Right there, that was where I dumped that right in there. And he actually, right there, hit me in the face with his hand, and I cut my lip open, which is, I guess, what you get on American Gladiators. But I made that basket. By the way, did I tell you that I made that basket? Okay. And, you know, how do you sum up an experience? This was kind of like living a dream. I really wanted to be a professional athlete. I wasn't big enough, strong enough, fast enough, committed enough, talented enough. Other than that, I was perfect. So this is what this expression captures what it's like to live a dream. That was after Atmosphere. It was exhausting. It was challenging. But I'm glad I lived to tell the story. The lesson that I learned from American Gladiators is probably one of the most important lessons I've learned in my life. I'm in my office. It's around 8:30 at night. My general manager, David Greenspun, was across from my office, across the hallway. I'm sitting at my desk working, and he pokes his head in my door and says, "You have a few minutes to talk." And he walked in, and I have a couch and a chair and a little table, and he walks in and sits down, and I join him, and we start talking. And we started talking about life. One thing led to another, and I told him my dream was to be a professional athlete, like I just shared with you. I didn't care what sport. I love competition. I love to really, really get in it and compete and win. And that conversation ended around a half hour later. He went home, I went home. And 3 weeks later, David Greenspun comes walking in my office with a video cassette of the first show on American Gladiators. Now, if you're sitting next to someone who's 25 or under, please explain to them what a video cassette is. So he comes in with the video cassette and he says, "Michael, there's a new show on TV. You can live your dream. I was 35 years old at the time. We can get you on this show. You can try out and be on this show, American Gladiators." And he says, "I want to show you this." And we walk back to the service department. And I have that 2-in-1, the TV and the VCR, that one unit, right? You remember that? Yeah, it wasn't a black and white TV, but it was still the 2-in-1 unit, and he plugs it in, and you watch these 300-pound muscle-clad gladiators killing these unsuspecting contestants. And he looks over at me, and he says, "That could be you." Like, I'm supposed to get excited about that. I said, "David, what do you," and I was a tough boss, so maybe he was trying to get even or get my job or something, I don't know. But he said, "Michael, you could be on that show," and I'll tell you, if you ever had a dream, this is what it felt like. I felt such a rush of adrenaline. I felt so excited that this would be just amazing. And at the same time, I felt immense fear. And fear won out. There was tryouts 4 places in the country. And I told him, I gave him every excuse in the book, and I told him I can't go. And that was it. 9 months later, who comes walking in my office with a video cassette of season number 2? David Greenspan. And he says, "Mike, this time tryouts are in New York. I was in Atlantic City. We could go out there, we could make a day of it. You, me, and Frank Siskowski, who was my sales manager. This would be great. Let's go out together and make it a day, and you'll do great." And I went up to New York and on the Coliseum. Anyone ever been to New York, the Coliseum in New York, or see it or familiar with it? It's huge. And on the marquee it said, "Free tryouts to be on American Gladiators." 5,000 people showed up. They selected 2. I was fortunate to be one of the 2 that they selected, using a program I called Ace and Map, which we're going to talk about at the end of the program. How you can beat the odds and just win big deals, anything you want to put the odds in your favor, which is what it's all about, to get victory. So here I am. We go up to New York and I compete, and we come home, and I make it. I live my respun dream to compete in front of 6 million people in an athletic competition. And here's what I learned. I thought that my success being a millionaire before I was 30, sold my company to a multi-billion-dollar-a-year company, I thought all my successes in my life were all mine, based on my efforts alone. And here's what I learned from that experience. There's always people who step into our life who make a profound difference. Always people. If you look back, there's always people that change the course, the trajectory of your life. David Greenspan was that person for me. There's 2 types of people out there. There's people that are encouragers and people that are discouragers. People who support. David was going after my dream for me. Who are you a David Greenspan to? Who have you helped along the way, mentored for them to live their dream? You've heard this before. There's battery drainers and battery chargers. Anyone ever have a battery drainer in their life? It sounds like by that laugh you still do. Right? Right. Well, if you can't pull those people up, you have to cut them loose. Because battery drainers, their life in business is hard. You need people that support and encourage your dream. You need the David Greenspans in your life. They say we're the sum total of our 5 closest friends. You've heard that before? The sum total of our 5 closest friends. You hang with the eagles, you'll soar with the eagles. You hang with the dogs, you'll get the fleas. So I ask you, who are you hanging out with? Who are you surrounding yourself with? Who are you being a David Greenspan to? And who is being a David Greenspan for you? So today's program, peak performance, mindset, belief system, and self-talk. And then part 2 is the competitive edge. I talked to you about Ace and Map with the Gladiators, and I also am going to talk about extreme relationships. I just want to touch on something that's really critical. When I was in the copier business, and even after that, a few other businesses, I thought the best question that any person could ask in business is this: what are the top people the elite, the world class. What do they do differently and better than everybody else? Not the top 20%, the top 20% of the top 20%, the top 2%. What do they do differently and better? And for years, I thought that was the best question. I want to bring only the best information to audiences that will transform their lives and their businesses, personally and professionally. So I'm an avid reader or listener through audiobooks, and I do a podcast, and I've spoken to the top people in the world. Kevin Harrington, who's a personal friend from Shark Tank, one of the original Sharks, and Harvey McKay, who wrote Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive. They're all colleagues and friends of mine, and they share and impart wisdom and advice that I then share with audiences, because all I care about today is moving the needle in your life personally and professionally. That's it. And I only want to bring you the best, and I'll give you my heart. I'll give you everything I have. That's my goal. That's the only reason I'm here. And of course, what you paid me. But no, it's the main reason. It's the main reason I'm here. So here's what I learned. I told you that I thought the best question could be asked: what do the world class do, the elite, better and differently than everyone else? And if we could just follow that model in the merchant processing field industry, if you could follow and say, this is the person who, or company that does things, that is growing and does things at the highest level, is the most successful, drives the greatest profit margins, grows year after year. If we could just model our business like that, we'd be so much more successful. And that is true. But there's something more important than that. And here's what it is. That's the first half of this program. Here's the better question. Everyone knows what to do, or where to get the information on what to do to be more successful. You have something called Google. You can call one of your colleagues up, and information is plentiful today. In fact, we're in the information overload age. Would you agree with that? Yes. Yeah, it's just mind-boggling. But I looked up how to lose weight. How many results do you think I got on Google? 6 million plus. 6 million. People say I can't lose weight. No, you can lose weight. There's 6 million ways. Pick one. So seldom if ever is it that we don't have the answer to what we want to do. The challenge is that we don't do it. There's a study called the knowing-doing gap. The chasm, the gap, is in the doing. And that doing is behavioral. That we have challenges up here, we all do. We have things that hold us back from a mindset, a belief system, and self-talk that sabotage our growth and our success. That's the reason we don't do the things we should be doing to get the things we really want, because we've got stuff going on up here. Some are fault, some not. So unless you can fix this, you can't grow the way you want to grow and solve the challenges personally and professionally. You can't have a better marriage or be a better mom or a better dad unless you get better in your inside world before you start applying these sales strategies and principles and tactics. Here's what I know. Every sales organization, I've spoken to some that are billion-dollar organizations, every single one, would you agree with this question or with this statement? That they all give their sales reps the blueprint. Maybe it's a sales methodology on what it takes to be successful in their business. Raise your hand if you would agree that most big companies would give that to their sales reps. It would make sense. This is what the top people in an organization do. This is your blueprint to be successful. So then I ask you, we'll go back to Pareto's 80-20 rule. Why do 20% make it and 80% are just at the bottom of that list, of the ranking? Why do we have that 80-20 rule? Why are 20% always achieving? Because they're what?
Do it. Excellent.
They do it.
The failures are limiting belief. The doers are doing.
Exactly. They're executing. So people worry about they want to, how many seminars have I gone to, have you gone to, that you left and you have this sheet of paper with notes and you did nothing? We've all done that. How many books have you read that you highlighted and put back on the shelf and did nothing? We've all done that. It's great reading. But unless you're intentional and unless you're deliberate and say, this is what I want to learn, this is what I want to absorb, this is what I want to apply, nothing changes. Nothing at all. So it's not the sexiest thing in the world to come into an audience, you know, and normally they want, well, Mike, what would you say in this situation, or how would you handle this situation? I'm going to talk to you about things that will change your life forever from the inside out. I'm going to help make you the best you can be, a better version of yourself. You're going to leave here, if you absorb this, you write 1, 2, or 3 things down and say, I am committing to doing this. And it can be a little step. And then you build on those. I promise every part of your life will change dramatically. That's why this first part, not super sexy, I'm not going to say, in this situation, this is how you get in this account. Yeah, listen, I've gotten into accounts on a cold call and spoken to the CEO of Barnes & Noble, a multi-billion-dollar a year company. If you want to hear how to do that, I'll be happy to tell you how to do that, on a cold call. Okay, and maybe I will tell you that before I'm done. We have time. And I did the same thing with Office Depot. Met the CEO, David Fuentes, and I wanted to speak at their international conference. I literally walked in, no guns were involved. I literally got a meeting with the CEO of, again, a multi-billion-dollar a year company. I have those strategies and tactics. They're important. But what I'm going to share with you today is life-changing. Infinitely more important. It'll change every aspect of your business and life. Mindset. The new psychology of success. How to fulfill our potential. Who doesn't want to do that? Be the best version of yourself. We talk about that and live the lives we truly hope and we want, we desire. I'm assuming everyone wants all 3 of those things. Easier said than done. We live in a tough world. It's really challenging. And we're fighting all the time with the external forces out there. This author, who's the top expert in the world, Dr. Carol Dweck, I spoke to on the phone. I spoke to her on the phone because I only wanted to bring you firsthand what the leading authority in the world. She's been on Good Morning America. She sold, I don't know, was it 1.8 million copies? That's unheard of this book, and it's a newer book. And I spoke to her on the phone. Now, you have to understand, I got D's and F's in high school and college. The 1.5 years I went to college. So I'm not the sharpest tool in the tool chest. I work really hard, but I work hard at knowing what I know and sharing it. See, here I set up with her secretary by being persistent and creative. I set up a call with Dr. Carol Dweck, professor of psychology, Stanford University. Was I nervous? You bet I was. But I'm a big preparation person. I believe in preparation. On one side of my desk, I had exactly what I was going to ask her, the exact questions I needed to know to share with audiences. On the other side, to be prepared, the box of depends. I was nervous. I get on the phone, I ask these questions, and here it is. This is it, summed up. You can read the book, but I'll give you the essence of the book right now. When I share this with you, I want you to ask yourself this question. Which category do I fit in? Is he talking about me when he says fixed mindset? Or is he talking about me when he talks about growth mindset? There's only 2 mindsets. I love simple truths and universal laws. Unarguable. These are the mindsets. Fixed and growth. You could be 90% of one and 10% of the other, but typically you're the vast majority in one of these categories. A fixed mindset believes this, that the skills, talents, and abilities that you're born with, along with the circumstances and conditions in your life, what's happened to you in your life, that defines who you are. And you're never going to get any better. So whatever you were born with, your skills, talents, and abilities, whatever conditions and circumstances, whatever side of the tracks you were on, and you didn't have a mom, you didn't have a dad, you know, whatever the situation was or situations were, that defines who you are. That's a fixed mindset. Now, a few other things that I want you to know about fixed mindsets. Number 1 is they always hang out with people of lesser capability and intelligence than them. Because they're not... How's that getting ahead here? Did that go on its own?
I might have done that. Sorry.
I don't think you're controlling it.
Okay. Yeah, that was magic. Look up. Okay, so they hang out with people of lesser capability, and the reason they do this is they know they're not getting any better, So therefore, they can't hang out with better people than them because it always makes them feel insecure and they don't feel too good when they do that. Okay, now, conversely, and by the way, people with fixed mindsets never, ever reach their full potential. They never, ever become the best version of themselves, ever. Growth mindset, the opposite. Now, there's certain things that are absolutely fact. The skills, talents, and abilities that you're all born with, you're born with. Okay? The circumstances, conditions that happen in your life, happen. No one in this room, no one is exempt from crap happening in their life. Now, everyone's dealing with something now. Everyone's dealt with tragedy in their life. That's why life is hard and business is hard, is how we deal with it and how we go through it. So the growth mindset understands that they're born with a set of skills, talents, and abilities. They understand they have circumstances, conditions that are negative like anyone else, but they don't let that define them. They let that refine them. They don't let that define them, they let it refine them. And here's what I mean by that. There's one major, there's actually two, I'm going to share the second one with you in a little bit. The one major word that describes a growth mindset is effort. Effort. Malcolm Gladwell says 10,000 what? 10,000 hours if you want to get great at something. Have you ever watched a professional athlete? How's that happen? That's crazy. Imagine. Okay, so how do they do this? 10,000 hours, it's over and over, it's effort. Let me give you what I think is one of the greatest examples of effort to be the greatest in the world of all time, I believe, or certainly one of the greatest. The greatest Olympian who ever lived is Michael Phelps. Anyone know how many gold medals? 23 gold medals. Do you know what the odds of winning one gold medal are? 23. He eclipses everyone of all time, of all sports, in gold medals. So wouldn't you want to study what's inside his head, inside his heart, why he did what he did? He had a coach, Bob Bauman, since he was 12 years old. This is what, now, would some people say that Michael Phelps was born to be the greatest swimmer of all time? Some people would say that. That he came out of the womb doing the backstroke. He was long and lean and swimming on his way out.
Genetically gifted.
Genetically gifted, but here's my point. That's a great point.
He works hard.
Well, not only does he work hard, I'm going to tell you how hard he works.
He smokes pot, too. Maybe help.
Here's the thing. His workout routine. I want you to wrap your arms around this. 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. 5 of those days is in the pool, 1 day is in the gym for strength and conditioning training. I don't know about you, 1 hour 3 or 4 times a week to work out, a challenge, right? That's imagine 6 hours a day in the pool, 5 days a week in the pool. How's he not a prune, first of all? Right? How do you do that? Now, so if he was born to be the greatest of all time in swimming, he was born genetically predisposed to that, why would he have sacrificed his whole life? Why would he invest that time to get fractionally, it's called the aggregation of marginal gain, to get a little bit better, a fraction of a second better, a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, from giving his all every day, 150%, pushing as hard as he could push, to get just fractionally better. All the greatest of all time pay that price to enjoy the price of success. And here's the equation. Here's what I want to leave you with the Michael Phelps lesson that I learned. That if Michael Phelps invested 2 hours a day swimming and in the gym, he would have gotten 2 hours better. He invested 3 hours, he would have gotten 3 hours better. 4 hours, 4 hours better. 6 hours, 6 hours better. No one wants to invest 6 hours a day into anything. But he did. And as a result became the greatest Olympian of all time. So commensurate, as you move forward and you leave here today, lock this in. That no excuses will take the place of effort. That commensurate with the time and energy you put into something will be what you get out of that something. That's simple. It's that simple. You have to have the right roadmap, because if you're going in the wrong direction, you'll get that result of the wrong. You have to have the right roadmap, the right blueprint. So if you have the right blueprint and you put tons of effort in, a golfer, for example, doesn't hit 10 shots to get better at those 10 shots. How many do they hit? Hundreds and hundreds. And a basketball player, I just read about Kobe Bryant, his workout routine. Incredible, crazy. Things that you can't even understand. 1,000 shots. Well, you would ask, why, you're great, why do you need to take 1,000 shots? He said, that's why I'm great. So anything you want to get better at, that's what you have to do. Commensurate with the time, that's the law. Commensurate with the time and energy, the effort you put into something is how good you're going to become at whatever that something is. So what would have someone do that? What would cause someone to do that? And that's their why. What's your why? Why do you want to be successful? Why do you want to, you see, to do that you have to push past your comfort zone. You have to stretch and reach to where it's uncomfortable. In essence, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's what all the great ones are. They're comfortable stretching and saying, this doesn't feel good, but I know to be better, to be a champion, to be a better husband, a better father, a better mother, a better sister, better brother, better leader, better entrepreneur. I have to stretch and grow beyond what's comfortable, because that's when you build your muscles. You rip them apart first, don't you? You stretch and rip the muscles to make them bigger and stronger. So you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And you have to remember we're human beings, not human doings. You have to be before you do, you have to do before you have. So human beings mean we have to be more. That's all part of this growth mindset. You have to be more. And when you become more, you will do more. And when you do more, you will have more. I'm not just talking more money, more happiness, joy, fulfillment, peace in your life, which is really the end game of everything. You know, this can also have a very, very negative impact on your life, as it did mine. 21 years old, I started my copier business out of a 600 square foot apartment. When the copier started invading my bathroom and my bedroom, I decided it's time to expand and open an office. And I opened a little office, and then I expanded again and opened a bigger office until I built my company. And I was probably putting in 14 hours a day, 6 days a week to build my business. By the time I got married at 27 years old to a beautiful woman. She married an average-looking guy. This is the only time you can disagree with the speaker, by the way. So we got married, and by the time I was 30, actually 29, which is my goal, after working 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, I was a millionaire. Don't worry, I lost millions too and filed bankruptcy. So that's what my clients hire me, because they say, tell us how not to lose the millions and how to make the millions. And so we don't have to step in that same mud hole that you stepped in. So anyway, we had it all. And that's where you saw that slide 100 times before I was a millionaire, but before I was 30, I traveled around the world to exotic destinations, Hawaii, Paris, you name it, Italy, and this is actually, I built this, I had my Dodge Viper the second year it came out. That was my dream car. And I'm not saying this to impress you by any means, but rather to impress upon you the greatest life lesson I ever learned. And if you leave here with anything, this is going to be the lesson. I built this. I don't know if you can see this. It's an aerial shot. That's what I built at 29 years old. And when people ask, they say, who's this guy, Michael Altshuler? He's 29, there's a Jaguar, there's a Mercedes, he's married to a beautiful woman, he's only an average-looking guy. How's he doing all this stuff? I don't understand. How's he doing? I think he's selling cocaine. It begins with a C. Maybe they mixed up the copier to cocaine copier. It's like, they said no one can sell that many copiers only at 29 years old to do something like that. Now, and they didn't know. No one knows. It's like a duck gliding across water. No one sees the feet that look smooth and effortless. No one sees the feet paddling 1 million miles an hour to make it look, what, smooth and effortless, right? So here I am. I had all this. And my wife, we literally traveled all over the world. We had the exotic cars. She could go out and spend thousands on the weekends. This is 35 years ago. And we had it all, almost. We wanted one thing that we're having trouble, a lot of trouble achieving, and that was a baby. My wife had a fertility challenge. Now, I don't know if you have ever had one or know and had a friend who did, but it is devastating. Truly, truly devastating. And although the money afforded us many attempts, 7 years, 13 operations, traveled around the country to the best doctors and facilities in the world that were in this country. Dr. Tichurny, the president of vitro fertilization, Yale University, New Haven, Connecticut, was our personal physician. We went to him. We traveled all over the world, or excuse me, all over the country, best doctors in the world. Went to Winter Haven, Florida for cryopreservation, where they freeze the embryos. We were trying everything. 7 years, 13 operations. We had it all, but we just wanted a baby. And then we went to the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. We became friends with the doctor. He was at Yale, now he's heading up the Mayo Clinic, Randy Korfman. We became good friends. He would pick us up at the airport, and after the second attempt, this is going on 7 years now, 12 operations. We tried a new procedure called ZIP, zygote fallopian transfer. It was new, and he said, Mike, if it doesn't work the first time, he said, maybe you should consider adoption. And I knew that would go, and adoption is beautiful, but I knew my wife had given so much to not be able to deliver her own baby would just be crushing. And just, I said, I don't know. I don't know how I would even tell her that. And then the last attempt, 7 years, 13 operations, effort. My miracle son Kyle was born on Friday the 13th of all days. Could have picked another day, Kyle. Friday, December 13th. But the story doesn't have a great ending. I was working another 14-hour day. I come home around 9 o'clock at night. I walk in, my wife's in the kitchen, she says, I need to talk to you. And I walk in and she says, I want a divorce. I'm thinking, how could you want a divorce? Our son was now 5. We had everything. We now even had the prodigy child. We had all the money that we could really spend, and we're putting money away, and we could do anything we wanted to do, and we had it all, but how could you want a divorce? And I was just so perplexed, and I didn't know what the answer was. And I normally have the answers for things or find them, and I just didn't know. And I found the answer that changed my life forever, and I believe will change yours. I'm driving down the highway, and the largest billboard I had ever seen in my entire life, largest billboard, huge, caught my eye. It had one face on it. The biggest face I'd ever seen on the biggest billboard I'd ever seen of a 100-year-old man wrinkled as a prune, like a Shar-Pei dog. More wrinkles than I've ever seen on a man. Just a big face, old man's face, lots of wrinkles, and a smile with no teeth from ear to ear. A huge smile with not one tooth in his mouth. And it had this caption, which changed my life and will change yours as well. It said, don't worry if you ignore your teeth. Will go away. See, whatever you ignore in your life will go away. And whatever you pay attention to will flourish. Or as I heard in church the other day, whatever you ignore perishes, and what you pay attention to flourishes. And that has to do with time and effort. So while you're putting all your effort into one thing, the other things are going away. If you have a garden, you don't water and fertilize it, what happens to that garden? It goes away. If you don't water your relationships and fertilize those relationships, if you're not spending time with those that you care about, nothing is going to grow on its own except weeds. So while I was putting all my time into building my business, as my business flourished, my marriage perished. It was simple. Nothing grows on its own. So the lesson I learned, I said, well, then what dictates where we put our time? And the answer to that question is your values. Barkowski said this: if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. My buddy Zig Ziglar said this: there's two types of people in the world, wandering generalities and meaningful specifics. What are you? 98% of my clients, some executive clients that make well over $1 million a year, don't have written values, don't have a core set of values. Your values are your moral compass. Your values tell you who you are and who you want to be. Your values are what you want people saying when you die. This is who Michael Altshuler was and what he did in his life. And yet, if we don't have we have goals. If we don't have clearly stated values, we don't know. We don't have a measuring stick that guides our thoughts, decisions, and actions as to where we should put our time and effort every day. And those values are the most important thing in your life. It is your Bible. My values are this: to honor and serve the Lord in everything I think, say, and do. To be the best husband I can be to my amazing wife, Emmy. To be the best father I can be to my son, Kyle, and my 2 stepsons. 4, to serve others with the gifts, talents, and abilities I've been blessed with and I continue to work on to get better so I can make a bigger difference in people's lives. And number 5, to be in the best mental, physical, and spiritual shape to serve my other 4 values. Because if you're not in good shape, you can't serve others. Now, what I do every single day, and I have all my clients do this in mastermind groups that I facilitate, every single day, there's 2 ratings that you should have once you have a clear set of values, core values. And that's my hierarchy. The first one is most important, then it goes down the list. Every day I judge, am I thinking about my values and everything I think, say, and do. So my awareness, right? Because you can't do something unless you're aware of it. So I rate myself 1 to 10. I have my clients rate themselves 1 to 10. Were you thinking about, do you have values now? Were you thinking about your values today? In everything you did, every decision you made, every action you took, where you put your time and energy. And number 2, how well did you execute? Now I'm a 10 when it comes to awareness because I've been doing it so long. I fail and fall often. I have good days and I have bad days. Some days I'm really full charge living my values. I'm doing push-ups, I'm doing sit-ups, I'm being a great wife, I'm honoring the Lord, I'm calling my son, but some days, not so much. But I'm aware of it. I own up to it. I hold myself accountable and people hold me accountable to that. That's the standard. You never saw, and here's the challenge. The world, and listen, I want to be successful like the next guy. We all want that comfort, but when you peel back the onion, all we all want is joy, fulfillment, and peace. The world will have you believe that that's money. Paper with dead presidents' pictures on it. It's not. You never saw a hearse pulling a U-Haul. People are following that hearse that loved you. They did the longest term study ever in history at Harvard University. 80-year study. They studied men from 5 years old up until their 80s. 5 years old up until their 80s. And they asked them what gave them... Let's leave that high, no problem. Actually, my son wasn't an attractive baby, but I plugged this in. He was... No, I'm kidding, that isn't. Kind of looked like the Gerber baby there. That's why I like that picture. He's a little embarrassed now. He's 26, so he's daddy. I tell stories about him all the time. He says, Daddy, it's about time I get a royalty. Yeah, he is smart. See, you be careful what you teach your kids, because then it comes back like a boomerang, right? Okay, so where was I? See, my son got her Come on, I know someone's paying attention. Huh? Harvard study, thank you. Okay. So, Harvard study. They have kids in their 20s. What do they think gave them and would give them happiness in their life? They gave two answers. Money and pain. They asked every man in their 80s, tracking him for 80 years, what gave you happiness in your life? It all came, who said family? Yeah. It all came back to relationships. Relationships. Think of the best times you've ever had with sitting around the table with friends, loved ones. Typically there's food involved, maybe a drink. Having a great what? Conversation with people you really care about. Relationships. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about even with our clients, where the relationship transcends the business. Relationships. The world is such a powerful force, it will have you valuing what it says you should value. That's why you need to have your own core set of values that will hold the test of time, that that's who you are and what you want to be. That's your book of life. Don't let the outside world dictate your inside world. Don't make the same mistakes that I made. Don't honor and live the life according to the world, but honor and live the things that are most important to you, that you establish. And then be aware and live them throughout the day. It doesn't mean you can't do both, but time and effort into the things that are most important. A sharp turn right. I had a great friend. Sadly, he passed away. But the late, great Mitch Hume gave seminars to tens of thousands of people. And he asked this question. What is the definition of success? Now, there's many answers to this. Many answers. But there's one answer that's kind of most shocking that really makes you sit up and say, that is the best answer. I want you to take some shots. There's no real wrong, well, there's some wrong answers, but what do you think blank plus persistence equals success? Go ahead.
Love what you do.
Love what you do plus persistence equals success?
Hard
Good answer.
work. Setting goals.
Hard work, setting goals.
Preparation.
Preparation.
Effort.
Effort. You were paying attention. Effort. Here's what it is, and this is kind of like an aha moment when I read it, when he told me this. Failure. That's what everyone said. Failure plus persistence equals success. The second, remember I told you when I talked about the growth mindset, I told you that effort really defines a growth mindset. You put enough effort into something, it's directed, it's focused, you got the right blueprint, you'll be super successful. Okay, whatever it is, your marriage or your work or both, hopefully. Okay? But this is it. The other part of a growth mindset is persistence and resilience. Marty Seligman, a top behavioral psychologist, again an expert, did a long-term study on success, this very topic. And he works with Dr. Carl Dweck as well. And here's what he concluded, that resilience, get this, resilience and persistence are twice as important to success as talent and IQ. Which in my case is a very good thing. A little short on the talent side. Work hard, persistent, and got up. So what does that mean? What does that mean that persistence and resilience are twice as important to success as talent and IQ? It means that 2/3 of your success, everyone's success in this room, 2/3 of your success is getting knocked down, brushing yourself off, getting up, and failing and forging forward. Would everyone agree with that?
Yes.
We've all fallen and failed. And that's what it is. So when you combine persistence, resilience, and effort, that's it. The why that I talked about is critical. Why do you want to be so successful at something? The bigger the why, the bigger the try. The bigger the why, the bigger the try. you need to ask yourself, what's my why? And then ask yourself again after you answer that, why is that so important? And the more it gets into your blood, the more it gets into your heart, into your soul, the more you're going to be able to go out then and push past your comfort zone. The greater your why, the greater your try. That's why they do it. Michael Phelps, when asked, why do you do this? I hate to lose. Now, he didn't like to lose. He hated to lose, and he would do anything not to lose. So we're going to play a little game. Audience participation. I've done enough talking. I'm getting tired. Okay. Guess these famous people who persisted and were resilient and became huge successes. You'd think they were automatically successes, but you were wrong. Because they did exactly what Marty Seligman said.
Mark Twain.
Go ahead, keep guessing. Who said Walt Disney?
Disney.
You did? Disney?
That's what he said.
Yeah, no. No, it isn't. No, it was Disney. So here you go. Here's a guy, and this is going to move us into the second part of the peak performance, and that's our beliefs. Don't you think if a newspaper said he lacked imagination, I think that guy should be fired? Right? No good ideas. He was rejected from prestigious film school 3 times, and that has a building named after him.
Spielberg.
Spielberg. Excellent. So, now, just put yourself in this situation. You're rejected from a film school 3 times. Is it somewhat normal in some cases? We've all been, raise your hand if you've ever been rejected. Today? Right? Around 15 minutes ago, an hour ago, right? That's our business. We're in the business of being rejected, pushing through that and getting better. You see, we want to get better. The apex of success is this. I want to get better in my mindset. I want to get better in my beliefs. I want to get better in my self-talk. So I do the things. I learn what I need to learn. I make more calls. So when you make more calls and you get better at those calls, that's the apex of success. I'm improving my skills, and I'm improving my behavior. And are you committed? Do you spend a half hour every day learning? Getting better. That's what this mindset thing's all about. What are you putting the effort in? First 2 companies failed, and wrap your arms around this. Anyone here go bankrupt 5 times? I have news for you. I'm a pretty positive person. I pretty much believe I can do anything. I do have doubts. But if I set my mind to something, I believe in it, I pray about it, I believe I can do it. I don't think, I went bankrupt, this is my cue. I went bankrupt once. And I can tell you that was a hard thing to accept. To not let that define you. Like, do you still, this is what I ask myself, do you still have it? Do you still have what it takes? It was 8 years ago. Do you still have what it takes? Are you still on the ball like you were when you were younger? See, this doubt creeps in, which is a self-limiting, we're going to talk about beliefs. But how could you go bankrupt 5 times and end up being, who is this guy? Who?
Donald Trump.
Not Trump. Buffett, not Buffett.
No, Buffett's in.
You drive one of his cars. Ford. Went bankrupt 5. Now you see Ford, you think, oh, this guy's brilliant, always successful. You know, the one that I don't have up here, who failed 10,000 times? Edison. I can't even wrap my arms around that. And when people asked him, how did you not give up? And some people say it was 1,000. Who cares? You fail 1,000 times or 10,000 times. It's still inconceivable to me how you continue to keep going and believe in what you're doing, right? Do you know what he said when someone said, how can you try something 10,000 times, fail? How do you stay with that? He said, I didn't fail 10,000 times. It was a 9,999 step process. That's what it is. Each step that we make and we fail, we have to what? Learn. We have to grow. We don't focus on it. You know, life is like driving the car. You have the windshield and the rearview mirror. The rearview mirror is your past. It should never go away. You should always remember those lessons. That's why it's little. Your focus should be on the big, expansive windshield. That's your future. You're in control with the steering wheel and how fast you step on the gas. So live life in the windshield of life, not the rearview mirror. But never forget what you learned along the way. Does anyone here remember the NFL player, I think it was a few years ago, who never fumbled, he's a running back, made it to the pros, never fumbled, it was Hunt? Do you remember what happened?
Yeah.
Guys, so tell everyone what happened.
I was smiling to my Patriot fan, but he fumbled on his first carry.
First, never fumbled in college in 4 years. How many carries did he have in college? 1,000 plus? Yeah, over 1,000. Never fumbled. His first game in the NFL, he fumbles. His first carry?
Yeah.
How could that not define you? What did the coach do? Gave him the ball on the very next play. He went on to break a record that game. They say pros, and that's what we want to learn after pros have short memories. They have short memories. We think of what mistake did I make? How can I get course correction? That's what I'm focused on, and get better as a result of that. And he broke a record. He didn't let that define him, that incident. That crazy, big incident, never fumbled in his life, he let it refine him. Had dyslexia as a child, dropped out of high school. Who is he?
Einstein.
Ransom. Worth over $3 billion. Now, certainly he could have said, I'm not smart. Do you think people told him he wasn't smart? Yeah. He didn't let that define him. Everyone knows this one. Jordan. Rejected from his high school basketball team. Hard to believe, right? Could you imagine, well, what's that guy saying to himself right now? What was I thinking? What was I drinking or smoking? Tough love. Crazy. He couldn't speak, he couldn't speak English until the age of 4 and was expelled from school. This guy's not too smart. Wow. Couldn't speak, so at 4 years old, they're saying to his mom, he's not too smart, this kid of yours. He's not going to make much of himself. One of my favorite quotes I was telling someone outside from my son is this, that things should be made as simple as they can, but never simpler. Things should be made as simple as they can, but never simpler. Great quote. She was penniless, survived on government welfare. Her manuscript was rejected not once, not twice, 12 times. She's a loser. Who is she?
Jared Torrance.
That's it. J.K. Rowling. She could have let that reflect. We all fail. We all question. We all doubt. Raped at 9, pregnant at 14. Oprah.
She's also doing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I promise you it's over. Okay. We can get someone to help us technically with this.
This way.
Okay. There we go. Okay, thank you. Okay. Don't ever let someone tell you that you can't do something. Not even me. You got a dream, you got to protect it. When people can't do something themselves, they're going to tell you that you can't do it. You want something, you go get it. Period. Who remembers these? Anyone remember these? What are they? Beanie Babies. Anyone? My son had a huge collection. Anyone here have a child that? Did you have a huge collection, sir, or your child? With a big smile, like, no, I have a huge collection. I don't know, that's Sammy the Shark. That was your
Notice he didn't answer.
I know. Well, this is kind of my favorite story. and it's my signature story about my son and Beanie Babies. I pick him up from school, 7 years old. And I said, Kyle, what do you want to do today? And he says, Daddy, I want to go to the store to just look at some Beanie Babies. Kids don't look, they want you to buy, right? So I cave in, I fall for it. We walk in the store, he walks right past the $3 and $4 basket of Beanie Babies. Right to the front counter, behind the front counter, in a beautiful glass enclosure, are 6 Beanie Babies. I know these are not the $3 and $4 Beanie Babies. And so does it. He says, excuse me, ma'am, may I see that Beanie Baby in the middle? She takes it down, he says, what's that Beanie Baby's name? They all have names. She tells him. He said, how much? Totally out of control of the situation. She tells him $65. He immediately turns to me. The shark was ready to attack. He looks up at me with his adoring eyes and says, Dad, I love you so much. Won't you please buy me that Beanie Baby? That was close number 1. I called that the tug at the heartstrings close. I looked at him, I said, Kyle, Daddy loves you very much, son, but I'm not spending $65 on a Beanie Baby. Forget it. We walked 3 feet away from the counter. Close number 2, right there. He looks up at me again with his boring eyes. Now, if you've been blessed with children, or if you've ever seen a child do this to a parent, this is arguably the thing that will melt away any bad daddy. He comes over to me, and he wraps his tender little arms around my leg. He again adoringly looks up at me, and he says, Dad, if you love me, you'll buy me that Beanie Baby. I called this the guilt close. I looked at him, I said, Kyle, Daddy loves you very much, son, but I'm still not spending $65 for Beanie Baby. Forget it, it's not happening. We get to the middle of the store, he breaks free of my hand and starts stomping his feet hysterically. Buy me the Beanie Baby, buy me the Beanie Baby. I call this the make the scene close. How many times have you seen a child have a temper tantrum in a store? They're brilliant, they're intuitively brilliant, knowing that you have to buy it to prevent them from embarrassing the heck out of you, right? That's how they operate. They're smart. Do that with your customer. I'm not really. It won't work with your customers. So I look at him, I say, Kyle, I got down to his level, I say, Kyle, stop that behavior right now. It's not going to work. I'm not buying that Beanie Baby. Realizing that close was ineffective, he stopped right away. I grab his hand firm this time. We're 3/4 of the way out. I can see the door in the distance. It's like a winning Super Bowl, a touchdown, winning. I'm there, it's almost home free, right? And he stops. I'm thinking, what now? He says, Daddy, do you know that Beanie Baby was $65? I said, no, Kyle, why was it $65? He said, because it's the last one, Daddy. They're not making any more of that. It's retired. It's an investment, Dad. He's value selling it. How does he know this? Well, I know he knows it. So he's value selling it. So I said, Kyle, it's not the type of investment that Daddy wants to make. I'm sorry. I'm going to put it in my investment portfolio that I have 1 Beanie Baby. It's not. Could you imagine? You have Fidelity, we have this, we have Row, and we have Beanie Baby. Yeah, it's not going to happen. I said, sorry. That was close number 4. I'm really impressed. So this time I really grab his hand firmly, and we almost make it to the door. He breaks free of my hand, and he plasters himself against the wall. And I figure, what am I in for here? And he says, Daddy, I am not budging an inch until you buy me that Beanie Baby. He is using a physical action flow that I have to physically remove him from the property in order to prevent the sale from happening. This is page 602 of the expert closing book. How the heck does he know this? So I peeled him off the wall, I threw him over my shoulder like a potato sack, gently of course, and I made my way out the door. He's not escaping now. I open the door, I get outside. I figure, victory, Dad, and I go to step off the curb. taps me on the shoulder. Yes, Kyle. He's, Daddy, you know what next month is? I said, no, what's next month, Kyle? He said, next month is my birthday. And the best birthday present you could ever buy me in the whole wide world, Daddy, is that Beanie Baby. And they're not making any more. It's retired. It's a great value, Daddy. And if you love me, you know how much I love you. And he's merging all these clothes together. Will you buy me the best Beanie Baby, best birthday present I ever wanted, Daddy? Won't you do it? I looked at him. I said, Kyle, I'll buy it. And I sheepishly walked back in, told the lady, yeah, we'll take that one in the middle for $65. So now if you look at my investment portfolio, it's Roe, Waterhouse, Beanie Baby. I took my son out to the car. And I said, Kyle, I got down this level, which I like to do, and I looked him straight in the eye and I said, I always want you to remember what just took place. That if you want something so bad in your life, you continue to try different things and you don't give up and you persist and you try until you get it. You'll be so successful. But don't try this stuff on Dad anymore. I teach this. I know what you're up to. And now he's doing it in business himself. But what a valuable lesson. You know, it's interesting that when you're a child and you learn to walk, a kid doesn't get up and fall down 500 times, 1,000 times before they learn to walk, and they don't let that the 100th time or 200th time they fall down and say, oh, this walking thing must not be for me. No, they keep getting up. They don't give meaning to what happened and let that define them, right? So let's talk about this. What do you believe? Now, this is the second part. This is the cornerstone. This is the internal processing unit of every human being. If you don't get this right, it's like an internal processing unit on your computer. I don't care how many features, bells and whistles you have. If this is not right, nothing in your life will be right. Everything is measured and filtered with this. What a belief system is how you see the world. Anais Nin said this, we don't see the world the way it is, we see the world the way we are. The lens, the filter through which you see the world is based on all your life experiences and the meaning that you gave to those life experiences, good or bad. And that shapes you as a human being. It shapes what you believe you can do or what you can't do. If you find, and there's two types of beliefs. Again, isn't it funny with mindset? There's two mindsets, fixed and growth. With beliefs, there's only two beliefs. Anyone know what they are? Limiting, self-limiting, and empowering. One's that push you forward and one's that sets you back. A self-limiting belief is something you say to yourself that you can't do for whatever reason you can't do it. It's an excuse. I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I'm not smart enough. I didn't have the right upbringing. We all have excuses, and excuses are excuses.
That's right.
Okay? So whatever you're saying to yourself, when I ask you to think back in the recesses of your mind right now, what do you say to yourself that you can't do in any part of your life? That's a self-limiting belief. Empowered beliefs are, I can do this, and I'll find a way to do this. My why is great enough, I'll find a way to do this. Now, this is key to understand how your beliefs were shaped. They're shaped consciously and subconsciously as a child, and even as in adulthood. Something happens to you, and typically something is said to you by someone you respect, a parent, a teacher, a professor, a friend. They tell you that's stupid, you'll never be able to do that, and you manifest that. If they say you can't do it, or you say it to yourself, I failed at this 5 times, I must not be good at this, I'm going to give this up, that becomes a self-limiting belief. It's the meaning that you attach to events and circumstances in your life. Let me give you an example. 2 twin boys, 8 years old. Their dad is a serial criminal. I did have someone come up to me and say, does that mean he steals Cocoa Puffs and Rice Krispies? Oh gosh. We had him kicked out for drug use, but... So, serial criminal, and he was a drug user, and he was in and out of jail. His whole life, the whole the children grew up with this. The dad was in jail most of their life. One child followed exactly the same path as their dad. He was a serial criminal, in and out of jail, and a drug user, just like his dad. And the other twin was hugely successful, kind of a white picket fence life, had 2 children, worked as a vice president of a bank, church going, just had it all going on. 2 kids, and they asked them in their adulthood, they went up to both children, and they asked them this question. They said, how did you end up the way you did with a dad like you had? And they both gave the same exact answer. With a dad like we had, what choice did we have? It's the meaning that we put on those events. One child put the meaning as, this is the way life is meant to be. The other child looked at it and said, this is not the way it should be. Think of your lives. How many of you are exactly the same as your parent, which you said you would never be? Or exactly the opposite? Think about that for a second. Think about that for a second. You'll find there seldom is there a middle ground. Look at your parents' traits. Like my mom was super loving, super affectionate. I made a decision, consciously or subconsciously, that that's, with my son, very affectionate. So I thought, it's not like I'm going to be in the middle. You're going to look at something and say, that's the way it should be, or that's the way it should be, and you're going to follow that track. That's a belief that you're creating. Any belief you create, you can loosen the legs to, like, picture a table, and the table is the belief with the legs holding it sturdy. You can loosen the grip it has if it's negative. Let me give you how this works in a real world setting. For over 100 years, as long as the 1 mile run was timed. Experts, get this now, experts, exercise physiologists, doctors, and scientists said it was physiologically impossible for the human being, the way the skeletal structure is created, to run a subpar 4-minute mile. The experts said it was impossible. And all the world-class athletes in the world, the world-class milers for over 100 years, heard this and believed it. And no one could break it. They said the experts said it can't be done. They made that part of their self-limiting belief system. And this one day, on March 6th, 1954, over the pond in England, this man, Roger Bannister, defied what the experts said and said to himself, I believe I can do it. I believe they're wrong, and I believe I can do it if I just do this, this, and this. And on that infamous day, back in 1954, in this pose, right here at the finish line, Roger Bannister trying to catch his breath after breaking a world record that the experts said could never be done. As amazing as a feat that was, what happened 60 days later was even more amazing. What happened?
A lot of people did the same thing.
It was broken again. So what stood the test of time for 100 years, all the elite athletes, no one can break it, just 60 days later, it was broken again. Now this person who broke it, again, didn't get a new pair of Nike sneakers. He didn't start eating Wheaties, didn't change his workout routine. What did he change?
Mindset.
His belief. His mindset. He believed he could because he saw someone do it. And then since that time, get this, over 1,000 men have broken the 4-minute mile. Some as young as high school age, and some in their 40s. I broke the 4-minute mile. In my car. I didn't have to tell you. tell you that. You could have just gone away and say, that's pretty impressive, Mike. Can I have your autograph? It was in my car, but it was first gear. I wasn't even out of first gear, and I broke it. So what do we take away from this? Well, beliefs, I can't stress enough that I really challenge you when you leave here to look inward and say, what do I doubt? What excuses am I coming up with in my life that I can't do something? I can't fix something. I can't make something better. I can't go after a goal. What limiting beliefs do you have that you can change? Because understand, they're all created. I want to really make this point in a big way by giving away a $100 bill. Now what I'm going to do, now I have everyone's attention. I see how you roll. So I'm going to give this away. Here we go. Oh, I like that. That's good. Okay, so Mike Altshuler. Am I your best friend right now? I'm about to be here. So what I want you to do, this is a pretty exciting moment.
Hey, wait a minute, I want it.
I like that. But he's here. You know what? Everyone's going to have a shot.
I believe I get it.
I like that. I like that. He's a player. I like that. You know what? I'm not giving it to him, so you can relax. He thinks he's getting it, but actually you're here just to validate that it is indeed real. But you still have a shot at it. So can you tell everyone that that's authentic? The real thing?
Just to get the pocket.
Okay. Yeah, right. Go cash it. Okay, you still have a shot at winning. Okay, I promise. Okay. Okay. That was a big tease, but I am going to give it away. But before I do, may I see by a show of hands, how many of you won? As I suspected. Show of hands. Everyone? How about now? Wait a second. May I see by a show of hands who wants it now? Everybody. Who wants it now? Still everybody. One more time. Who wants it now?
I want more.
You see,
I'll show it to you.
we all learned a very, very valuable lesson. Regardless of what I did to this $100 bill, and I did a lot to it, it lost no value. It's still worth $100. Not 1 cent did it lose in value. And this $100 bill represents each and every one of our lives. We all get crumpled up. That's life, that's business. You ever feel like you get knocked down to the ground? That's life, that's business. How about stomped on? Yeah. But just like this $100 bill, you lose no value unless you give permission to those events and circumstances to say, my value, my self-worth is less than what God the Creator made it, which is priceless.
That's right.
You will never lose any value unless you give permission to things that happen to you to say, I'm worth less than the Creator made me worth, which is priceless. The power of so. Wait a second.
Hey, where's the $100 at?
Wait a second. You guys are looking at me like he said he was going to give that away. He gave it away in his pocket.
Metaphorically, we all got $100.
You got more than 100. That lesson. I like that. But now, a promise is a promise unless you're a politician. I'm kidding. Love it. So, who wants it?
I do.
No, who really wants it?
I do.
Running faster.
Let's give a round of applause. You're welcome. I have a question for you. Sir, who's your favorite speaker?
You, sir.
Okay. You know what? It's not too smart an exercise. You make one person very happy, you piss off 150 others. That's not good. But let's give him a round of applause because guess who's buying drinks tonight? So, I'm going to take you through an exercise. A little something that's happened to me. I've made well over $100,000 by following what just happened. And that's going up to people by thinking about what I'm thinking about, by measuring my self-talk. What just took place was when I held that $100 out and said, who wants it? You raised your hand because that's what you were pretty much conditioned to do for my previous exercise. Then I said, who really wants it? Now, who had, and you're all thinking stuff in your head, right? Everyone's thinking something. What's he asking? Why is he asking again? Who thought that maybe he's giving it away? Did anyone think that maybe I should go up? A few people in the back.